Biggest one was salmon. That's the biggest one I'm native to. So before in the world it was salmon and catfish, but catfish is unclean because it don't have no scales. So, and then of course people will find other things dealing with the catfish that make it unclean and make it like, ooh, I wouldn't mess with that, you know. So that's why I'm saying that there's still a lot you can go into with those animals, and what may further prove that, nah, I can see why this is also unclean. You know, the way this animal behaves, the things that it eats, you know, its habitat that it lives in, you know, so I can see why the Most High said, let's stick with this. And that's just more research you can do on your own. So, but like I said, I still have 2 more PowerPoints on dietary law because there's still a lot of information to cover, but this is just part of it, you know, to give you an idea. Yeah, it's like fish rock. You know, they got everything at fish rock, fish plant, you know, fish, you know, so just like this one right here. You know, you got the sea roach. That's what you deal with. So you got the sea roach, which the anatomy, when you look at them, they look very close. Like, if you really flip them over, it look, nah. Them is definitely cousins. You know, they definitely cousins. So, but yet and still, it's like, we in the world, you don't even think about it. You know, it's like, shoot, tastes good. Shoot, eating everything in the world. In the world, I done had octopus and eel and, you know, and sushi and all this stuff. And shoot, because in the world, all these things are delicacies, so to speak. That's what Esau said. You know, so you have all those things. And plus, cousin Filipino, so she was eating a lot of stuff, so under that influence. But nevertheless, this is someone, like, I know who cooked this, you know. I know the person who, they put all this together. So they put all this together and they cooked it. Anyway, back in the studio. Hello? Hello. Sounds off. We're back on. All right, we're live. Sorry about that. Anyway, carrying on. So, but yeah, I know the person that made this, man. So they put all these abominations together. Most I said, man, you can't mess with this. So because at the end of the day, just like I was saying earlier, look at the nature of all these things in here. They're all bottom feeders. You know, all these things are part of the garbage disposal of the earth, but particularly the waters. So that's what they do. Garbage disposal of the waters. They feed and eat on all the trash and things. Well, not human trash, not the waste we produce, but the natural trash of the ocean. That's what I'm dealing with. That's what they do. But nevertheless, same thing in the world, dealing with bootleg Christianity, modern day Christianity in the world, they still be like, man, everything is good. Nothing to be refused. But those are the things the Most High said, nah, my laws haven't changed. But let's go ahead and let's get the fowl. Let's get the birds. Beautiful birds. Let's get Leviticus 11, 13 through 20.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 13. And these are they which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten.
They shall not what?
They shall not be eaten.
So the Most High is dealing with those that shall not be eaten among the fowl. When we deal with fowl, we're dealing with the bird. That's it. H5775, dealing with the bird. But it deals with as covered with feathers, or rather as just having wings. All right? So dealing with wings. But most things that fly are actually birds. So that's what it's also dealing with. So which we'll get in a minute, because you'll be like, what? No, that's in the bird family. But yeah, it's in the bird family. But let's go ahead. Keep reading.
They are an abomination. The eagle.
So the eagle, that's the first one we see. You can't eat that. And then notice, too, when the Most High is giving the description, notice what they have in common. That's the other thing, too. You like play that game, you know, you're a kid, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not quite the same. One of these birds is dead. So you just look at that, all right? That's the other thing we pay attention to. All right, Most High keeps it simple, because you got some people make it complicated. What about this? Because, I mean, you know, these birds eat this, but, you know, it's just, look, keep it simple. The Most High gives you the description, he gives you the basics. Keep it according to what the Most High said, all right? Let's go ahead. Continue.
And the ossifrage.
The ossifrage. The ossifrage is, once again, a type of, or a kind of eagle, all right? So it's in the same family, after its kind. Go ahead.
and the osprey,
the osprey,
and the vulture,
the vulture. So like you see here with these two birds here, the osprey and the vulture. Go ahead.
and the kite after his kind.
So the kite after its kind. Now remember, what's a kind? A kind is a group of people or things that belong together or have some shared quality, a particular type or variety of person or thing. Like, let's get an example. You have a raven, but you also have a crow. These are the same kind of animal, but two different species. All right? So that's what you're dealing with, because that's when people want to deal with evolution and see how this one turned into this one, and this one came about with this. No. We're dealing with kinds. The Most High created everything after its kind. A species exists within a kind. So not dealing with, these ones have these particular kind of beaks, and Darwinism. These are all within the same kind of bird, same kind of animal. All right? So that's what you're dealing with. So, but remember, that's where the Most High gave way to micro, as people want to deal with evolution, microevolution. You didn't have to bring every particular species of dog. You just had to bring, like with Noah, you just had to bring 2 dogs. Species came about later. So just like you didn't have to bring every particular kind of, every particular species of lizard, every particular species of snake, all these things came about later. So that's what you're dealing with. That's nothing new. Go ahead. So keep reading.
Every raven after his kind,
Mm-hmm.
and the owl, and the nighthawk,
So the owl, the nighthawk, Rip,
and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind.
the cuckoo bird, and the roadrunner are the same thing, all right? So still after their kind. So the hawk as well. Go ahead.
And the hawk after his kind, and the little owl,
The little owl, little baby owl, little owl's cute. Go ahead.
and the cormorant,
And the cormorant. Go ahead.
and the great owl,
The great owl, king owl. Go ahead.
and the swan,
And the swan. Go ahead.
and the pelican,
The pelican.
and
Read.
and the gear eagle,
The gear eagle, even though it got eagle in the name, it's a little misleading. It's really a vulture. So it's really a type of vulture. Go ahead.
and the stork,
Stork,
the heron
the heron,
after her kind,
and after her kind, go ahead.
and the lapwing and the bat.
Lapwing and the bat. So the bat, even though that's, once again, like I was saying, it's not a bird in our eyes, it's still a winged rat, and that's what it is. But hey, nevertheless, it's still a winged creation of the Most High, all right? That goes in the fowl family or the bird family according to the Most High, all right? So go ahead, sis. Buzzard? I mean, I'll look it up. I don't know off top, so I gotta check. Let's see. Buzzard. There's a large hawk-like bird of prey, so you can't be eating no buzzard then. Hawk-like bird of prey. You can't mess with that. All right, let's keep it going. All right, so let's get examples of clean fowl. So you got a quail. That's one of the ones that you read that, Most High was giving our forefathers, dropping the quail on us. But, another one you can eat is the pigeon, dove. These are in the same family. Oh, I'm sorry, man. What did y'all notice? You got the mic. Hey, what did y'all notice about the unclean animals? What did you notice? Some things you noticed when we go back through them. Go ahead, sis. Use the mic so make sure people can hear online, too.
The dead carcasses of other animals or birds,
Okay,
rodents,
yeah.
and filthy creatures.
Right. What else you notice? You have something to say?
I was just gonna say that they all seem to be predators.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? You got anything? You good out? Good. All right. So, good. Those are some things that you can clearly see based upon the description the Most High is given. All right. So that's what you get. And he goes very in depth with everything you can't eat. So you got a pretty good idea of the stuff you can eat to narrow down the things you can't eat. All right. So that's what you get. So you'll see, quail in the scripture, you deal with those. You deal with same thing. We can eat. You'll deal with pigeons and doves. You know, in the scripture, you'll deal with them, same family. You know, not that you want to eat the pigeons around here in L.A., but, you know, it's just an aspect where if you had to, if push came to shove, you know, if it was up there on your porch, like, yeah, you can mess with it. Go grab my hairnet. I'm gonna catch it. Give me a broom and a hairnet. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna eat this. But same thing, of course, our favorite chicken. You know, so those are just examples. You know, so you just take those and you'll be good.
That's a beautiful chicken.
Hey, see, that's a beautiful chicken. There, Jake said, "Chicken a model." He said, "Chicken strutting." Boy, you could shoot. You could cluck right onto the plate, right onto the what is saying, Lion King, the birdie boiler. Not the birdie boiler. Just all right. So, nevertheless, let's get the creeping things. So all these things, for example, fall into the creeping thing category. All right, we're going back to Leviticus 11:21 through 22. Get the creeping things.
Verse 21. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth.
So when you look at these creatures here, locusts, bald locusts, they have legs to leap withal upon the earth. All right, go ahead.
Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind,
So the locust, read.
and the bald locust after his kind.
And the bald locust after his kind. Go ahead and get Matthew 3 and 4 real quick. Eat those. Shoot. Baptist was eating them.
Tearing them up.
Hey, we had some too. I had some. This your car had brought some. You know, it was a couple of brothers that refrained. It actually, to me, it tasted like sunflower seeds. To me, it tasted like when you get the sunflower seeds. Like, to me, if you like really weren't conscious of like legs, then it's an aspect where, you know, hey, if you wasn't looking at little legs, you'd be thinking, oh, it was just sunflower seeds. Because at least the ones I had, that's how they taste, and that's more so how the texture was to me. You know, so
Policy.
it was like sunflower seeds to me. All right, and think about me. I'm not saying I'm not the spokesperson for locusts, but hey, it was like sunflower seeds. Hey, go ahead and read that, Matthew 3 and 4.
The book of Matthew chapter 3 and verse 4. And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair, and a leathern girdle about his loins.
So, and that's what you read. So, which we'll get again. That's another scripture that goes into when you're dealing with, you know, like, hey, if you want a camel fur jacket or rug, yeah, that's fine. Just don't eat the camel. So that's what you're dealing with. Just don't eat it. So you can use it for other use. Just don't eat it. So otherwise, we know John the Baptist, he was a righteous man. He wouldn't have a coat of camel's fur if like, hey, camel's an unclean animal. I know I didn't eat it. I just got the coat and made it into a jacket. Made it into a gird. That's it. Go ahead, you got something? Yeah, swan is an unclean animal too. I'm gonna get into that. So yeah, the carcass, you ain't gonna deal it. Yeah, I'll get into that. The carcass is on the list. But because once again, and that's why I said this is a good example, because as we went over earlier, yeah, swan is unclean, camel's unclean too. You know, but once again, then with the dietary law, dealing with to eat. And I'm gonna deal with the scripture that deal with, other use, you can use them. That's why John the Baptist, he took it and said, hey, you know, I ain't gonna eat this camel, but I can make it into a coat. So, and that's fine. He wasn't in transgression and, you know, damn, see that? He didn't turn the camel into a coat. That Jake walking around, he just unclean. He just defiled in his temple. You know, nah, Jake wasn't doing that. You know, get a coat like that, that's expensive. You know, so that is expensive. Look into it. You know, and at the same time, look into how they be detailing the camels. You ever seen that? I think you showed me. Who showed me that? Either you, Danielle, or someone showed me that, man. They be detailing like, I didn't think they were detailing like that, but nah, I mean like detailing camels. We be thinking our rides, we be doing that, man. Ishmael be pimping them camels. He be doing everything. Like, man, look it up if you can find it, man. Look how they be detailing them camels. I mean, like fine art, like, like pristine. Like you there with some fine clippers to edge out and you do these designs. But nevertheless, he pimp his ride too, Ishmael. But yeah, so that's just one you can actually keep. But go ahead and read that, 3 and 4.
And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair and a leathern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey.
So, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. So, at the same time, wouldn't be eating honey, wouldn't be eating locusts if those things were unlawful, wouldn't have, the aspect of actually having camel's hair garment from an unclean animal if it was an aspect where you would be in some form of transgression. All right, so that's also one you can use and write down and look. You can use these things, but I'm gonna give you some more precepts later that go back into it. Get Leviticus 11 and 22. Let's go back and let's read Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 22.
The book of Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 22. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind.
So when you're dealing with beetle, the beetle reference is referencing the grasshopper and the cricket. That's what you're dealing with, all right? The grasshopper and the cricket. All right, go ahead.
And the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you.
Right, because when we look at other things like an ant or a literal beetle, they don't have legs to jump about the earth. So even when you look at the Strong's Concordance, when it deals H2728, when you're dealing with beetle, it's dealing with locust. So another one after its kind would be like the cricket. We'll go ahead and let's read this too out of Easton's Bible Dictionary. Read beetle. Oh, I got you then. So beetle. So mention of it is made only Leviticus 11 and 22, where it is obvious the word cannot mean properly the beetle. It denotes some winged creeper with at least 4 feet, which has legs above its feet to leap withal. The description plainly points to the locust. This has been an article of food from the earliest times in the East to the present day. The word is rendered cricket in the Revised Version, because of course in the concordance you get where you're dealing with locusts, and one of the ones that would be after its kind that wasn't mentioned would be like the cricket. So still in the same kind or type of animal. All right. So you have something? Are you good? Yeah, that's on.
Okay, so I had a question.
Go ahead.
So does this like how you brought up the cow and how it clearly shows why it's clean? Is there any proof to show why specifically the Most High chose grasshoppers and crickets?
With all that, that would just take an aspect of your studying of every creature, So why would the Most High, like everything, you just go into either aspect, when he said go into aspect of the spirit, but you'd actually study when the Most High uses certain animals to represent certain things. Why would he use like Yahweh Shai? Why would he liken them unto a sheep or a lamb? Why would he liken us that we're supposed to be like sheep, but we are the lost sheep? Why would he liken, the wicked unto rams or goats? So rather than sheep, so why would he, choose lion and Judah? Why, the lion? What makes the lion a particular type of animal to be reckoned to in a certain way? So as far as dealing with the dietary laws, these are the things that he gives us. But from there, you would have to go the extra mile to find out, like for example, and this is where I say this properly without someone not taking what I'm saying out of context. A lot of things the Bible gives you a basic understanding on. It gives you an understanding of economics, gives you understanding of sciences, and it can, some areas it may go more in depth than others, and other things may give you a basic understanding. But there's still other ways that you can still go deeper with certain understandings, not in a metaphysics type of way, like, man, you got to go deep, but just in an aspect where, you can go, deeper with certain things. Let me get an example. Go to Numbers. Numbers chapter 15. Numbers chapter 15. Let's read. Actually, you know what? I actually want Deuteronomy 22 and 11. I want to get this one. Get Deuteronomy 22 and 11. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 11. Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together.
Right, so just real short, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, mixed fabric, as of woolen and linen together. That's just an example. It's not only dealing with that, just mixed garments. Get Leviticus 19:19. Just an example, giving you a concept. Get Leviticus 19 and 19.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 19. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed, neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee.
Right, so everything is dealing with your clothing has to be 100%. So not wearing mixed fabrics and things of that nature. You do your best to wear things 100%, all right? So now, one may deal with, and many may even say this about certain things, these are carnal ordinances. You know, that's just a carnal ordinance. How is that going to make me more righteous or more holy? You may have heard that, right? So, but it's an aspect where the Most High says to do that, but what would you deal with as far as a deeper significance or meaning of that? Just from whatever it is. If you don't have anything, that's fine, but what do you take from it personally?
As far as our 100% clothing and whatnot, oh, because like how you brought out the scripture earlier that this is our temple, and if the Most High is holy and separate, He wants us to represent ourselves as holy and separate, and wearing 100% clothing is something that shows that you're 100% holy, I guess. That would be my own.
No, I get you, and that's fine. You're doing what's righteous unto the Most High, being holy unto Him, right? So the same thing with the dietary law, but one can also take it and look at, well, you wear 100% clothing, the Most High would have you do that to get you to understand an aspect psychologically that you have to be 100% with the Most High. He doesn't want you being 50% with Him, 50% with the world. He doesn't want you to be, oh, I'm 20% here, but I'm 30% over here, you know, and then I'm another, 50% over here. Nah, the Most High said, look, you got to be 100% with me. You got to keep my laws to the T. You got to keep my laws 100%. So even though this is one aspect with the clothing, He says, look, your clothing got to be 100% just like I need you to be 100%. I don't need you to be mixed with the other nations. I don't need you to be mixed with, oh, yeah, I feel you with these laws over here, but I got to do some of this over here too. So that's another aspect of taking it a little deeper than what most may just take for the surface value of, oh, this shirt just got to be 100%. I just got to be holy. Kind of get what I'm saying? So likewise, tying that back in with the same thing with the animals, the Most High said not to eat and to eat, you would just sit down, you just study like, man, what makes these animals special? Why not these animals? And you look at the nature. You take all these things and you say, look, why would the Most High say this or put this as precedence over these things? And that's why I kind of, asked earlier, like, okay, what do you see these kind of animals kind of have in common versus these particular animals? So that's the things that we meditate on to get a better understanding of, man, I more so see why the Most High said go this way instead of going this way. So, and that deals with us, in our studies and our own diligence and how much more we put toward the Most High. And those are things that our forefathers, they realized, and these are the things that they meditated on. These are the things that they got to understand. This is how you get closer to the Most High, because like we did with earlier, not everything, like what I was dealing with the clothing, you're not going to find that in the scriptures. You're not going to find what I was dealing with as far as, the other aspect in the scripture. You're not going to get that. Those are things you have to meditate on and see, why would the Most High have this? Why would he say do it this way? Those are the things that you meditate. And that's how you get stronger and better with the Most High, because you meditate on, man, I love His laws for that, because get Isaiah 55 and 8 real quick. Get Isaiah 55 and 8. So this is the other thing. And sometimes, man, this would be the hardest thing for a lot of people, looking at the laws, looking at the truth. Get Isaiah 55 and 8.
Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, Neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord.
See that? The Most High says, look, I don't think like you. You know, my thoughts are not like yours. You know, those aren't the same. You know, so read on. Oh, and of course, he said, neither are my ways, how I choose to do things, how I choose to orchestrate, neither is that the same way in which man or which you particularly may choose to work in that fashion. You know, I'm not moving the same way as you. Read on. Why is that? Read verse 9.
For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
So he said, even as the heavens, you know, the heaven, the sky, even as those things are higher than the earth, he says, look, even so is my understanding higher than yours, and my ways higher than yours. You know, so it's an aspect where, you know, everything with the Most High, we may not necessarily understand it right off top, but it's also how much we work to get the understanding and to actually meditate on it. Sometimes, because a lot of things you can just skate with the truth that, okay, you know, keep tabernacle, keep Passover, but how much do you actually meditate on it? How much do you actually, you know, sit down and reflect on these things and see like, damn, you know, how did this affect me? How did this affect my family? You know, how do these things, you know, line up? You know, because everything has the basic understanding that it gives, but everything has also a deeper spiritual understanding as well. You know, once again, like I'm saying, not on a metaphysics type level, you know, but just an aspect where there's two sides to every coin, you know. So you got the face value side of just what it says, but you also have the deeper spiritual side that it also gives that you have to do your own due diligence or studies on, or even, you know, that's what you do. When we teach, we also go into those things and reflect on those things. So you say, oh, you know what? I didn't think about it like that. Like someone said with the clothing, they probably never thought about it like that, or that never crossed their mind, you know, and that's not to call anyone, oh, you know, just dumb or ignorant because you never thought about it like that, but it just showed that, you know what, maybe I do need to set more time aside to actually reflect on the scriptures, you know, reflect on some of these laws, like why instead of taking, because sometimes we're faster to take offense at some of the laws, like, man, why the Most High wanted to do that, instead of actually humbling ourselves and seeing, like, why would the Most High want us to do that? You know, just what would make him, being this divine power entity, say that this is a good thing, this is right, you know? And so that's all it is, you know, just doing that time, taking that. You got something, sis? Maybe pass it the mic.
So is the Beatles clean or not?
What you know as a regular beetle, no. The beetle reference is
So
to the
you
cricket.
cannot eat that.
Not a regular beetle that looks like this beetle right here. No, not this like beetle.
So just locusts, grasshoppers, and cricket.
Yeah, locusts,
All
grasshoppers, cricket, you know, this is what we're looking at. That's what I went to in the Strong's Concordance right here, that what did it mean when he said beetle? You were dealing with, that is a locust. So a leap insect, that is the locust. So, and also getting the Easton's Bible Dictionary, when same thing is dealing with, you know, a locust like the cricket, you know, the same thing. So, but not a literal beetle like we know of, like a ladybug. So let's get Deuteronomy 14 and 19. Let's go ahead and read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 19. And every creeping thing that flieth is unclean unto you. They shall not be eaten.
Right. So like the dragonfly, you can't eat that mug. The flying squirrel, you can't eat that mug. For examples. Go ahead.
But of all clean fowls ye may eat. Ye shall not eat of anything that
Get
dieth of
29 to 30. We're going to come back. Get 29 to 30. Go to Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 29 through 30. Other creeping things.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 29. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse.
So the weasel, the mouse, is the same family, rodent family. Read.
And the tortoise after his kind.
The tortoise, the turtle. So go ahead.
And the ferret.
The ferret. Go ahead.
And the chameleon.
So the chameleon, so the same thing after this kind, you know, the iguana, lizard, all those things would be in the same family. Those are all still the same kind of animal. Go ahead.
And the lizard. And the snail. And the mole.
So ain't no escargot, and, you know, ain't no snail, ain't no mole. So Same thing after its kind. Ain't no naked mole rats, no groundhogs, none of that. That's all unclean. Get Leviticus 11:41 through 42. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was everything from that.
You want verse?
No. Get 41 through 42.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 41. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, and whatsoever with more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them shall ye not eat, for they're an abomination.
So like the snake creeps upon its belly, right? So that's something that is unclean, all right? So the other one, like it dealt with, read that again, because the Most High on point the way he said. Go ahead.
And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, and whatsoever have more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth.
He said, whatever have more feet than all that creep. He said, look, whatever go upon the belly, whatever got a whole lot of feet more than anything that creep, he said, just don't mess with it, all right? So you see that? The Most High, for a fact, the Most High, man, he nigga proof. He said, look, it go on the belly, it got more feet than you can count, just don't even mess with it, all right? The Most High, he keeps everything simple, all right? So he keeps everything simple to where, look, you got it.
Simplified.
Jake said, look, it got too many feet, just don't even mess with that mug, all right? You ain't supposed to be eating it. So, because sometimes, Israel, we get tired, we want to try something new. Ooh, what about that one over there? He said, look, don't even mess with it. Just stick with what you got, all right? So let's go ahead, especially to it. And that's why he said, get away from the heathen. They always, Esau, a lot of them, they got to experiment, try new stuff. We be good with the same old stuff, shoot. Us, chicken, watermelon, and waffles. That's just it. Why you want to make life complicated? So just keep it simple, Want to try the dragon fruit dragon? Who? I don't know. I didn't have, Mama never gave me no dragon fruit as a kid, Whatever it is, new stuff coming up. Not to say, everything new, it'd be stuff growing in other places, but we used to stick with what we know, all right? So the Most High, he just saying, well, look, go with what you know. You ain't sure, do your research. Don't just take a gamble, all right? But let's get some sanitation. This is going back to what Jake was talking about. Let's get Leviticus 11 and 31. Go back.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 31. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them when they be dead shall be unclean unto the even.
Right, so it be unclean unto the even. A lot of these things unclean unto the even is in the same regard like, when you deal with other laws as far as dealing with, other law, you be unclean longer. But like such as, touching the dead body of man, you unclean 7 days. Whereas touching the dead body of animal, you unclean to the even. So that's a different story. Or, things of other laws of uncleanness, dealing like women on a cycle, dealing with one with leprosy. So all these things is the same way. This case, you touch dead body of an animal, you're unclean to the even. So I don't mean if you're a pet lizard or, the same thing. Like we took going over all these animals, you touch their dead body, you're unclean unto the even. All right? So if you touch their carcass. So when you get carcass, you get H5038 Nabala. So it says a flabby thing that is a carcass or carrion, human or bestial. We know in context we're dealing with a beast. There's different law dealing with pertaining to the unclean carcass of I shouldn't even say carcass, the unclean body when dealing with a person. All right. So it says bestial, often collectively, figuratively, an idol, dead body, dead carcass, dead of itself, which died, beast, that which died, that itself. So we do it right here with either dog, it looks like, so this is a dead carcass, but once again, hey, maybe Fido died in your backyard, whatever it is, you got to go bury Fido. You'll be unclean until the even, all right? That's just it. You got to go bury Fido, put him away, hey, unclean until the even. All right, let's get 24 to 28. Yeah, Leviticus
chapter 11 and verse 24. And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean unto the even. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean unto the even.
So the same thing. You touch it, the same thing with, I'm going to poke it. Whatever you be going through, the kid, I'm going to poke everything. You're unclean unto the even, all right? So, or like I said, you got to bear the carcass of it, whatever it is. You may have, whatever it is. Wilbert in the farm, Wilbert didn't die. Can't just leave the body there. I got to move it. Well, you be unclean until the even, So go ahead.
Verse 25. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean unto the even. The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, nor true of the cud, are unclean unto you. Everyone that toucheth them shall be unclean.
Right. Going once again with the unclean animals, say, look, everything that touches them, you'll be unclean. Go ahead.
And whatsoever goeth upon his paws, among all manner of beasts that go on all four, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean unto the even.
Right. Because the other thing is, too, the Most High also saying, look, you don't know how that thing died, you don't know what's going on, whatever it is, the Most High is these are just all laws of sanitation, and that's why I had the heading as far as sanitation, because all these things are just dealing with cleanliness. That's how the Most High is trying to have you keep in mind how to be clean. So you touch something dead, who knows? Once again, you may, I didn't know Wilbur was dead for the past 3 days, whatever it is, body just funky. You ain't going to just pick him up and then just go in the house and act like ain't nothing happening. It's like, I'm going to wash my hands, clean myself up, things of that nature. So those are things you keep you mindful of, too, because the state or whatever it is, or whatever it is. Bird could have flew in and died in your garage, whatever it is. Most of us said, look, or you might have been cleaning up. You found a bird in the attic, whatever it is, dead raccoon. Most said, look, whatever it is, you got to move it, touch it, but you'll be unclean, Go ahead.
Verse 27. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws, among all manner of beasts that go on all four, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean unto the even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean unto the even. They are unclean unto you.
Right, it's the same thing. We already know this right here ain't even, or this, but this is evening. Or more so, this is evening in LA, but light pollution. But same thing, we'll just get one scripture on that, but it's Proverbs 7 and 9. Same thing. Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 9.
The book of Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 9. In the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night.
So that is one scripture as a priesthood, just to give you the aspect of the dark night. Sundown, but it's no different than how we keep the Sabbath. So wash your clothes, unclean till even. Let's get Leviticus 11, 32 to 33.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 32. And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean unto the even, so it shall be cleansed.
Right, so anything that fall on the touch, you got to wash it, all right? So Fido was on your blanket, he died in your blanket, you got to wash your blanket, all right? So that's the whole thing. Blanket defiled, got to wash it. So the same thing, vessel, you deal with utensils, dress, bag, artillery, pot, sack, all things of that nature, whatever it is, you got to wash it. You got to keep it clean. Go ahead.
And every earthen vessel whereunto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it.
Right. So an aspect where you got something, because even then, whatever it is, these things fall in, it fell into this small vessel, whatever it is, this water, that water is tainted now. You can't drink that water. It's just common. If you had, whether it's an insect, roach then fell in and drowned, whatever it is, you ain't going to drink that water, all right? So you ain't going to drink it. So when they're dealing with the earthen vessel, dealing the pottery, ceramic, things of that nature. So with the Most High, something that with the earthen vessels, the earthen ones, you got to break. That's who we have it. So not with the brazen ones, which we'll deal with. So, but everything that was earthly, because you have cups, pots, and pans made out of different materials. You said, look, all the earthen ones that fall in there, nah, that ain't good. Go ahead. 34.
Verse 34. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean. And all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean.
Right. So an aspect where whether you're cleaning something, whether this thing died, someone else is dealing with something unclean or whatever it is, especially in this day and age with all sorts of abominations, but anything in a small vessel, that little water in there, like in this cup, is unclean. This earthen vessel, something get in here, it's unclean. This one got to be broken. Get Leviticus 11:35.
Leviticus 11 and verse 35. And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges for pots. They shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you.
Right. So when he's dealing with that, like range, this is what he's dealing with. Consisting of 2 parallel stones across what the boiler is set. So this would be like the bricks that they would have that was set up with the 2 stones. So the meat fell on this. The stone, it wouldn't just come out. So the same thing with pottery. The earthen ones, these are still earthen stones or earthen vessels, that wouldn't just come out the same way. Especially if you got blood on it, things of that nature, it wouldn't just come out. So he said, nah, you got to replace them stones. So, but whereas when it's dealing with, get Leviticus 6:27-28, but the metal ones, those you can clean. So that'll come out with some hot water. Get Leviticus chapter 6, verse 27-28.
Leviticus chapter 6 and verse 27. Whatsoever shall touch the flesh thereof shall be holy. And when there is sprinkle of the blood thereof upon any garment, thou shalt wash that whereon it was sprinkled in the holy place.
So this is just an example dealing with the priests. You deal with a lot of them as far as how they prepare the offerings, meat offering. Remember, the priests are always preparing, clean sacrifices unto the Most High. But it would deal with that, especially burnt offerings. You read that they had to change their garments, change their clothes, things of that nature. So you can't just have shirts bloodied and things of that nature. So think about it. Our forefathers, we have to actually slaughter animals. So you can't just go in the kitchen, slaughter an animal, and then come back and just sit down on the couch. That it just ain't gonna work. So the Most High said, look, you're unclean, change your clothes. You got blood on you, eating all sorts of stuff. So the Most High said, look, come back. All right. So the same thing when you're dealing with, read verse 28.
But the earthen vessel wherein it is sodden shall be broken.
So
And if
even in that place, cooking, sodden in the earthen vessel, things of that nature, it said, look, those vessels got to be broken. But read on.
and if
Sodden
it,
is to cook or boil. Go ahead.
and if it be sodden in a brazen pot, it shall be both scoured, and rinsed in water.
So those things got to be rinsed in water. So all these things are Brassen. So Brassen, you deal with something made of that metal. So metal, brazen, brass, chain, copper, feather, steel, all these things can be cleaned. It'll come out. You're all good with these things. Most I said, but earthen vessels or pots, nah, it ain't gonna come out the same. Go ahead, let's get Leviticus 11:36.
Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 36. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean.
So a fountain or pit, like you washing your meat, like I dealt with you washing your meat, you into something like small, this is just an example, not this small, but something this small, that water is tainted. You can't use that water. But when it's dealing with plenty of water, like a well, you got something bigger, you washing it in, you ain't gonna taint all that water. That's what the Most High is saying. Go ahead. Read verse 36 from the top.
Verse 36. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean.
So fountain, spring, well, where you washing something, there's a lot of water. Most I said, that's all clean. You ain't defiling it. So, but let it be like something small. He said, nah, that water ain't good. You can't drink that water after that. So you cooking, you preparing food. Then he said things of that nature. He said, nah, you can't. That water ain't no more good. That water's tainted. You got to pour that out. But no different than if you got like a little bowl, you over there rinsing meat off, you ain't gonna drink the water that you rinsed the meat off in. You ain't gonna do that. But an aspect where if you had like, well, something bigger where there's a lot of water, that's a different situation. That's when most I was saying you're not polluting the whole thing. So go ahead.
But that which toucheth their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean.
So if it just seed, like you got some seed, you're going to plant it, car is falling, they said, look, not a problem. But read on.
But if any water be upon the seed,
But if the seed be wet, and then you had a car, something fall on it, read.
and any part of their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you.
Now that seed becomes unclean. Dry seed, carcass fall, good. Wet seed, carcass fall, bad. So that's what the Most High is saying. Let's get Leviticus 7:24. And this is the other one dealing with for other use. Going back with Matthew chapter 3 that we were going over. Get Leviticus 7:24.
The book of Leviticus chapter 7 and verse 24. And the fat of the beast that dieth of itself, and the fat of that which is torn with beasts, may be used in any other use, but ye shall in no wise eat of it.
So Moses said, look, the fat of the beast that dieth of itself, and the fat of that which is torn with beasts may be used in any other use, but just don't eat it. That's what he's saying. Get Deuteronomy 14:21. So if you did have cow, goat, whatever it is that did die, go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 21. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe the kid in his mother's milk.
Right, another one, that's when it said thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk, that's one where many say, see, you can't eat meat and cheese. But that's not what it's dealing with. Because they deal with, okay, you can't see the kid in his mother's milk, but to seethe means to boil or to cook. So you have the aspect where you cannot cook a kid, meaning a young goat, calf, cow, while it is still in its mother's milk, meaning it's still breastfeeding, so to speak, or still getting the milk from its mother. You have to wait until it's fully mature before you actually go ahead and kill it and use it for eating or whatever purpose you may have, leather, whatever it is you're going to use it for. So that's what he's dealing with. Just don't kill the baby and eat it. So, all right, so check on learning. So in what chapters can you find the dietary laws? 2 chapters we went over. Yeah, what else? Yeah, there we go. Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14, all right? So those are the ones. All right, what is a ruminating animal and how are they different from other animals? What is a ruminating animal and how are they different from other animals? That's all right, No? Jake said, I got it. Jake said, I got it. Nah, you good. All right. So an animal that re-chews its food. So in short, there are 4 stomachs, meaning dealing with chambers, not literal stomachs as we learned, so that allow a more thorough digestive process, all right? So why can't I eat a bat? Yeah, it's unclean, right? So same thing. God told us not to, all right? So any questions pertaining to anything I went over? Or, I just went outside, but go ahead, sis.
Said something earlier about sushi. We're not supposed to eat sushi?
Nah, sushi is raw fish. Even though they put like the rice in it, they may put even some vegetables in it, but it got raw fish. Yeah. So unless you get one where they cook it, but it's traditionally is raw fish.
So it's unlawful to eat raw fish.
Yeah, because you can't eat anything with the blood, even though it's still in the water.
Don't they take the blood out of it?
Nah. Same thing for chicken.
Yeah, it's still raw.
They don't take the blood out of chicken.
If
you see it when you fry it,
right?
It come out. But I'm saying, with sushi, they say they take it out.
Nah, it's still raw.
Oh damn!
It's still raw. We wouldn't eat it because it still got the blood in it. So it's still raw meat. So same thing, like even like Jay was saying, even if you get some chicken, it ain't you can rinse it off real good, man. See, it ain't bleeding, Oh, but it's still, nevertheless, it's still raw. It still got the blood in it. Go ahead, sis. Yeah, you good. Good. Yeah. Anything else? Y'all good? Danielle, anything online pertaining unto? All right. Well, the time is 9 o'clock. You know, so that's it. You guys getting out early. All praises, huh? So hope you guys enjoyed the lesson, man, and you know, just gave you a better understanding. You know, things that you probably already may have read, gone over, but you know, just getting it from a different perspective. All right. So most I willing, that was a little enjoyable for you. All right, tasty treat. So let's go ahead. Let's send up the prayer. Hey, spiritual food, spiritual nourishment. So let's go ahead and Amadim Wapanyaka Yap. Excuse me, Amadim Wapanyani Rashalam. Let's stand and rise and face Jerusalem. Send up the prayer to the Most High.